Hello, good evening, and welcome to News at 10 on TV3. I'm Stephen NT. Let's begin with the major news highlights of today. Farmers in the northern region are threatening to meet the Food and Agric Minister in Parliament to demand further explanation to his claim of winning the fight against the four army worms. The farmers say government is downplaying the pest infestation. The police administration is urging the general public to be wary of internet and social media deals, especially those involving top police officers and other important personalities. The police corps came in the wake of several fake advertisements using Commissioner of Police Kofi Boakye, the gender minister, and a host of others to perpetrate fraud. The Department of Urban Roads has started work on defective bridges in Kumasi following extensive reports by TV3 on the weak state of those bridges in the municipality. The repairs of the bridges will bring relief to residents and motorists whose health and safety were at risk. The acting national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay, has charged delegates of the party in Greater Accra to maintain their calm as government is working to put things in order. He was speaking at the annual Special Delegates Conference held for the region at the Trade Fair Centre, La Accra. And Ghana has made significant progress in the provision of improved water sources to 80% of its population. Despite these successes, however, about 4,000 Ghanaian children die each year from diarrhea. About 23% of Ghanaian children suffer from stunting, which is chronic malnutrition linked to poor water sanitation. And 5 million Ghanaians still use water from unsafe sources. Now, the lack of clean drinking water and sanitation systems is a severe public health concern in the country, which contributes to about 70% of diseases. Ghana has also major issues with poor sanitation. Total sanitation coverage reaches up to 15%, meaning only 15 in every 100 Ghanaians have access to sanitation facilities. Here is a report. It's a report issued by the World Health Organization and UN's Children Fund in their MDG assessment of 2015, ranked Ghana as the 7th dirtiest country in the world. Now, President Akufo-Addo in April this year promised to make Accra the cleanest city on the African continent in the next 4 years. The president therefore urged city dwellers and environmental stakeholders to support his commitment to rid Accra of filth by the end of his term in office. Now, tonight we want to explore how best we as a country can help improve access to sanitation and sanitation facilities. I've been joined via Skype by Atta Ahin, who is the vice chairman of the Coalition of Non-Governmental Organizations in Water and Sanitation, CONEWA. Sir, good evening, sir. Thank you extremely for joining us.
Thank you, and thank you for joining me.
I know as a country we have major sanitation concerns, and one of the critical areas we want to find out is about preparedness, the state's preparedness to put in place systems that will encourage clean sanitation situations across the country. Over the years, there being a blame game here and there, but overall, do you feel that the current government is approaching this the way it should?
Well, thank you, Stephen. And I want to begin by saying that as a country, when it comes to the development of the policy framework, the strategic documents, I think that we are about one of the best in the world.
I see.
You go to international conferences and, I mean, we have all the documents. Very fine. I mean, we have brains here. We can discuss and we can write. But you see, the issue has always been how to implement these fine policies. So if you're able to implement these policies, I tell you, Ghana should be able to move away from the embarrassing situation of having ourselves as the worst when it comes to sanitation. I just returned from Uganda and had the opportunity to listen to a presentation from the ministry. And I was shocked that even though they don't have adequate resources, they are putting in $180 million just for the ministry. And $180 million translates into how much? About 720 million Ghana cedis plus. And you know how much we budgeted for sanitation and hygiene. In fact, water, sanitation, and hygiene as a whole ministry, 255 million Ghana cedis. And if you convert into dollars, it is just peanuts. And you see, when you go into the analysis, we are talking about how much for, payment of salaries, and very, very little for capital investment. And so if you're able to prioritize water, sanitation, and hygiene and accord it the right investment, for me, I think we should be able to do much better than that.
So I know that we're on and on about the problem, and you've just stated that we should prioritize. Look at the fact that we're lagging behind. 15% as compared to the MDG target of 54%. We're really, really way there. But how do we bridge this gap? You've mentioned that we need to prioritize and then put investments, but is that all we need to do?
For me, as a country, I've told you already that in terms of policies, we have them. We have the human resources. Let's try putting in the investment and see. For me, I think that now it boils down to the adequate investments and prioritizing. Look, you see, we shouldn't forget that improved access to water, sanitation, and hygiene has multiplier effects on other sectors. So if you're able to address your water, sanitation, and hygiene issues, you are addressing your health, your food security, your education, and all that. So for me, it boils down to investment and then implementation. Implementation is also the key. But for me, the question you asked, you see, this government has a very fine opportunity to make fundamental changes. And I want to believe that the Minister for Water, the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources is equal to the task. In fact, we have started developing some strategic documents, a 5-year strategic document, which for me is very important. But again, are we going to implement it the way we have designed it? If we're able to do so, we'll be there.
I know earlier when the president came to power, he made promises about sanitation. And one of the striking ones he said was wanting to see Accra become the cleanest city in Africa. Sanitation issues can be addressed in order to make this possible. But do you think that we need to make changes in our attitudes and the way we engage our environment as Ghanaians generally, without necessarily always putting the blame at the doorstep of government or state institutions?
Yes, I agree with you perfectly. We need to change our attitude. In fact, you go to some other countries who are not as developed as we are, and their attitude to sanitation is just perfect. You see, the president's statement for me is going to be very, very difficult, and let's be objective. Very, very difficult to achieve. But look, because the president has said so, if we put in resources, there will be a lot more commitment from various stakeholders to ensure that we are able to attain that. But again, it boils down to leadership. Because if you're able to enforce our policy, say that when people offend the law, we deal with them. In every country, people offend the law. But how do we deal with them? That is the issue. And I believe that even if we are not able to become, the cleanest city in Africa, if we put in a lot more effort, we may become one of the cleanest. in Africa. And
But
that is the most important.
you think that is possible? That can be achieved?
For me, not as the cleanest city in Africa, but as one of the cleanest cities in Africa.
And it's still good if we are... And it's still good if we are one of the cleanest, not necessarily the cleanest.
It is still good. Perfect. It is still good. We don't have to be the cleanest. We can try and be one of the cleanest. But as of now, we are nowhere near one of the cleanest. And that is quite embarrassing. In fact, I'm just returning from Uganda, as I told you. And when you mentioned that Ghana is at 15% access to sanitation, people don't believe it because you are a lower middle income economy. And they expect you to be up there and not struggling with the poorest countries in the world, like the South Sudan and the rest. So I think that we need to put in a lot more effort and change our attitude, as you say.
Right.
What will take us.
All right, Mr. Ahin, so quickly, before we let you go, we need to hear from you from your perspective, your CONEWA's perspective, what your assessment of access to water is in this country. Good.
No, for me, access to water, let me be frank, we have done very, very well. And we have done well not because of, anything, but because we have prioritized it. Look, for all the development agencies, if you talk to any one of them, they will want to put in more resources in water to the detriment of sanitation. And that is the same with government. Government puts in quite a lot when it comes to access to water. We go for loans and we are able to expand our infrastructure. But we don't do the same for sanitation. In fact, the latest report from the World Health Organization and UNICEF indicates that Ghana overachieved its target for improved access to safe water. We had about 76%. We were able to clock over 89%. And for me, that is not surprising because that is where we are putting our effort. Let's now put the effort in sanitation and see whether we will not get the results.
Right. Ms. Ahin, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much for joining us. Atta Ahin is the Vice Chairperson of the Coalition of Non-Governmental Organizations in Water and Sanitation. I'm Stephen Enti, and this is still News at 10. We're live on TV3 and streaming live on our Facebook page. We have more news for you. Welcome back. Now, a total of 400 police and military personnel will be deployed to mining areas next week to counter illegal mining activities in several parts of the country. This is part of government's unrelenting fight against the Galamsey canker that has had dire consequences on the country. Over the years, water bodies have been destroyed, arable land being depleted and the environment degraded. So we're going to quickly in the studio tonight, we have Emmanuel Irinchi Enchi, who is Director of Operations at the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. He's joining us in the studio now. Boss, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well.
Great. I know that Galamsey issues are sensitive because they revolve on income for those who are engaged in it. At the same time, we're also worried about the effect on our environment. The evidence there clearly for us all. But let's look at the action that government has put in place over the past few weeks, the creation of a task force, and now they're talking about sending 400 military and police personnel to various parts to help the fight. Do you think this is a good strategy?
Thank you, Steve. I would say a very good evening to your viewers, and then also good evening to my members, the association members. 400 personnel, looking at the size of the fight. It's a good start.
I like how you put it, the size of the fight.
Exactly.
So it's a huge task
it
that you honestly straight away think 400 is small. It's a good step, but too small.
It's too small, but at least it's a good step by the government. And you see, we always talk about synergizing effort from various quarters. And by various quarters, I mean the government, Ministry of Interior, like the security people, then the association task force and monitors.
But what's the capacity of the association task force? I know you've done quite a lot clamping down, but are you legally protected in doing those things? For example, if you were carrying arms in your pursuit of clamp down and something happens, who is to be held responsible?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In fact, we are still pursuing and pushing, trying to get some kind of legal backing.
Legal backing.
Yes. Now what we are doing is we are citizens, and citizens, one of our core obligations to ensure that we protect property, and then also make sure that law and order is maintained in the country. So we are just riding on that to support the fight against Galamsey. And then also, so like I was saying, we need the involvement of the chiefs. They are key
critical actors.
Seriously, I mean,
without them,
if we don't get their support, no matter how much.
But these same chiefs, the big allegations back and forth, some proven, some not proving, that some of the chiefs have been involved in giving concessions to illegal mining activities, and they sit back and watch the destruction to their communities. Some of them even lie about not knowing the extent of degradation in the environment, the same lands they've given out.
Yes, yeah, some are partly true. You see, the associations feel that the approach to this fight is to be coordinated, and then also to find the root cause. Why this thing is happening now? Why has it been going on? And how can we tackle the issue from the root? And by doing that, the chiefs should play a critical role. And we should also find out why does the chiefs are able to go to that extent of giving lands to Galamsey operators.
So if I understand you, you're suggesting that the approaches are not tackling the root cause of the problem. That is why Galamsey still persists, despite the ultimatum given by government for it to stop.
Exactly. The whole issue is about livelihood. And there's no force which is greater than economic force. Look, these guys go down there, if they are 10, they go down there, and then there's a cave-in, 5 died, the other 5 survived. The next day you see them going back there. What kind of force can stop people like that? Then you have to go into their psyche and see what is happening there. What is pushing them? Economics. So then we find ways and means of bridging the gap. Before then we move in with the military to clean the place. You know, to start with, and then just push these guys in. They're just 400. I mean, 400. Just look at wide area. This and the Galamsey issue affects over.
Galamsey could overpower the 400. You're thinking,
well, it's not
or you're not looking at the violence.
It's not overpowering per se, but it's outsmarting. Let's put it that way. Because the BNI report that came said over 8 of our regional regions are involved in Galamsey activities, and these have several communities. So how are we going to divide all this from? That is why I'm saying that we should bring together all the efforts and integrate them. The chief should be part, the association task force should be part, the district assemblies should also be part, and then we move in that holistic way. And even somehow, we should be able to identify some of these Galamseyers and then bring them into the fold. Education is the key.
I like your approach. So you feel that the 400 is a good start, yes, but it's still small. But do you think it is sustainable? For example, I'm asking this in the back of the fact that we already agree that it's not much, that we need to do more. But do you think that this military police combined force approach is something that can work, that we can sustain?
It is not sustainable. I mean,
why?
We can't sustain it.
Why do you foresee that?
Let's do the economics. Let's do the economics. How much does it take to cater for this 400? And for how long can government continue to fund their activities? I mean, we have a lot of other obligations. So if we localize this fight and then bringing the chief, the district assembly, and then the small scale miners, the association itself in there, because we are always there, we are there working. So once the associations are there, we stand a better chance of sustaining it than bringing in the army to be there.
You feel that the army and the military are a central force whose strength might wither away because of the lack of, logistics and support cannot be dragged for 4 years, for example.
Exactly.
And you feel the locals should get involved.
They should get involved, and then they can be called for reinforcement anytime the fight gets tougher. And then they come in,
so do you get the impression that this is part of the things we are getting wrong with the clampdown? For example, we've had the issues in Asante Achim Central. We've had some deaths, recorded some deaths there. The Prestia Honey Valley issue also stands out clearly in our minds. So it's appearing that we are not winning the fight as we would wish, really. But what do you think we're doing wrong?
Like I'm saying, you see, the fight is not 2-3 day fight. It's going to take us some time. We need to sustain it. And just bringing in the personnel, the security personnel, is not enough. We need to coordinate our activities to clamp it down. And that is also not enough. The Galamseyers needs to be given a meaningful livelihood or something that is economically equal to what they are doing, or better still, bring them into the regulated main form mining. That way, then we'll be sustaining the fight. I mean, clearing them off now without the alternative will be very, very difficult. I must be frank with you, because we have been there. That's just in tax what have been there. You clear them today, the next day they are dead. The other day they are chasing their political lots, and then their district chief executives and co, and they are giving them some form of shielding and protection. There have been a case where, as you see in tax what, I've gone to some communities, and some of the leaders there and opinion leaders will tell you that this area is no go area because our boys are there. I mean, just during this time of fight. So
it's pretty scary the way you're putting it. So what kinds of alternative economic livelihoods do you think can do the trick? I mean, people are digging for gold. They're making so much money. You go and then you provide them, for example, a sugar plantation. Will it be sufficient? Or you don't think we should commensurate the alternative livelihood with what they currently earn?
You know, we have vast lands that are yet to be mined. The whole Ghana is a mine. If we are serious as a nation, we just set up the regulators, increase their number, increase their capacity, and then we identify these people and bring them into the main fold. Ghana can contain them and even contain more, so that they will do it sustainably and in a more environmentally friendly manner.
I like that. You're kicking the Galamseyers out of Galamsey, but putting them into legal mining. That's what you're suggesting.
That's the best way.
That's the only way?
It is the best way. It's not the only way, but it's the best way. It's the best way we can do this. And we will solve a lot of problems. We'll solve the environmental problems. We'll solve livelihood issues. We'll solve the unemployment problems. And then our gold production from the small-scale sector will also increase, and it will cushion the cedi, it will stabilize it, and we'll have a lot of foreign exchange.
Is your association committed to the fight against Galamsey?
We are very much committed.
How committed are you?
I told you that our task force are over there, and then we are also in talks with the government. If you heard, we are being trained at UMAT.
That's right.
As a form of continuation to our training already that we have with them.
And you think this training is good? This government's multilateral mining integrated training. Is this a long term?
Well, this is not coming from the MMIP. This is actually coming from the Ministry of Environment. The MMIP document is still under discussion, and the association also have some few reservations with it. Apart from the fact that the document being a very good document, we feel that the way the government is proposing to implement it might not be the way forward, and it might not be sustainable as well. The sector minister says that he wants to use project management approach for 5 years to implement it. And our question is, we have already existing state institutions, and we just need to find out what their problems are, and then we build their capacity, increase their personnel, and then ask them or tax them to implement the MMIP, supervised by the sector minister. That's the only way we can sustain it. If we use this approach and there's a change of minister within the same government, that minister might say that, look, I want to improve this MMIP, so maybe we'll do EMMIP.
Right.
Or even if there's a change of government, the whole thing can be thrown off. Mind you that what we are looking for is a sustained development in the small-scale sector, where Ghanaians can partake in the exploitation of their natural resources in a more sustainable manner and then in an environmentally friendly manner.
And finally, the creation of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Mining is meant to work with MMDAs to sustain the fight. Is this a good approach for you? Do you think that, I mean, because you've been talking about engaging the locals and having a multi-tasked or multi-stakeholder approach, so the Inter-Ministerial Committee is good?
Yeah, it's very good. It's a very good thing. The association have been advocating for this for a very long time. It's a very good thing because you realize that in the mining sector, the small-scale mining sector, several ministries come to play. We have Ministry of Interior, Lands and Natural Resources, Environment. We have local government as well. And then we have Chief Dancy and all those people. So once we are able to synergize the activities and focus it on tackling Galamsey, and then shifting it to sustain small-scale mining and environmentally friendly manner.
We'll be fine.
That will be
right.
Excellent.
Mr. Urenchi Enchi, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Emmanuel Urenchi Enchi is the Director of Operations at the National Association of Small-Scale Miners. Now, let's move away from that. The fall army worm invasion on farms in the northern region has left most farmers and their families helpless. Farmers and these families are already feeling the impact of the worm invasion as they've had to skip meals due to the destruction of their crops, which could have been harvested.
The fall armyworm have evaded most farms in the northern region. Farmers who are still battling the pests have complained of possible food shortage in the region. Farmers say their crops, including early maturing maize, which would have been due for harvest to take care of the home, have all been destroyed. Families are already skipping their meals as they complain of losing almost everything to the pests. The farmers say they have still not received support to fight the pests.
At Blihabla in the northern region, and here Yakubu has an 8-acre farm and everything is being taken over. He tells me he has no idea of government's free chemical distribution. So he's been battling the fall armyworm based on common knowledge. He has been using Omo, he has used neem tree, he has used some other herbs together with pepper.
When it is evening time, they come out and start destroying the maize. So they are appealing to the government to come to their aid to be able to control their farm and then drive away the armyworm.
Most farmers have given up on the fight, others hopeless, but still forging on with the hope that they will at least salvage what is left on the farms.
And that's it for News at 10. Thank you very much for making time. Enjoy the rest of our programs. On behalf of the crew here, good night.